Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Karmic Gacha system in Modern Family World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 176, Case Cleared? Edward POV. Looks like it didn't only happen to her, the detective said after checking out Kiernan's story. Apparently, the bathroom was locked for a while, therefore some people decided to relieve themselves in a creative manner all over the house. I was thinking about moving to a place like this, or maybe even this house. But right now, I kept thinking that my current house is good enough, Sean murmured. I nodded in agreement. During our earlier conversation, Sean had suggested that I explore other living options since my current house's address had been leaked to the public. Maybe I won't move, but alternate between houses to make people think that I don't live there any longer. If I keep posting videos from the new house, I can subtly change people's minds. Then, I can come back to my current house anytime I want, I mused, rubbing my chin. This decision wasn't made arbitrarily. In fact, I had been using my part of the lottery money, as well as my dad's, to buy a few companies and properties. The 2008 housing market crash had left real estate prices at an all-time low, and I saw an opportunity to invest. That's why Phil was struggling as a realtor in the early season of the series, I realized. After my revelation, I approached the detective and suggested, if there are no other leads, I think we should just wait for the lab results to come out. The party is already ruined, and people can't wait to go home. Chloe sighed but didn't argue. Yeah, it's better that way. Curious about her sigh, I asked, why are you sighing? She shook her head. Nothing. It doesn't have anything to do with you, or the case. Come on, tell me. Please? I coaxed her with a sweet voice. Taken aback, she decided to end the matter quickly. Well, I'm just sighing because I can't close the case tonight, and that'll get you in trouble with your captain? I interrupted. Her widened eyes confirmed my assumption. Picking up on her situation, I patted her on the shoulder to cheer her up. Don't worry. I'll give you a nice and thorough review, so that your captain can't nitpick on anything. Well, that's going to make you the nicest celebrity I've ever served, she joked, smiling. Managing celebrity cases was considered a career killer due to their impossible demands. She was already tired of them, and it was only her first year as a detective. By the way, you have a daughter, right? I asked, startling her. She narrowed her eyes at me and questioned, how did you know? Sorry. I saw your phone lock screen before. How old is she now? I politely inquired, aware that my behavior seemed suspicious. After a few seconds of hesitation, she responded, she's 6 years old right now. I widened my eyes in disbelief, realizing that the timeline didn't match up. So, it's not following the timeline at all. I remember the daughter was 7 years old when the series premiered in 2016. I guess both she and Dr. Linda were not part of another alternate universe, so that's kinda good. I don't think I want to mess with all the gods and angel stuff. Mr. Newgate? Mr. Newgate? Chloe called, snapping me out of my thoughts. Sorry. By the way, does your daughter know me? Do you want me to sign something for her? Or record a short video? I offered. That's all right. You don't have to do it. But it'll be better for you if I did, right? In this way, your captain can't really say that you made the department's prestige go down or anything like that, I reasoned. She pondered for a moment, then flashed a smile. All right. In fact, Trixie is a huge fan of yours. If she knew I rejected you, then I'm going to be the darnest mother in the world. We can't let her down then, I smiled. Using the detective's phone, I recorded a short message for Trixie. Chloe quickly wrapped up the investigation and left the house with her officers. The partygoers also departed. As I had mentioned earlier, the party was already dead. I could revive it if I wanted to, but I was already tired and wanted to go home. General POV. Shortly after Chloe left the house, her partner told her, "Damn it. I left my badge in the toilet." Chloe said, aggrieved, "Now why would you take it off?" "I don't like the way it's hitting my leg as I was trying to take a shit," her Latino partner replied. Chloe sighed, and then made a U-turn. Luckily, she was only a few minutes away from the house. But, as she were driving back, she saw the Turkish ice cream man by the side of the road. The ice cream cones were scattered on the ground. The handcart trolley seemed to be burst open, causing the ice cream man to shout profanity in his language while pointed at the direction of the house. "Sir? What happened?" Chloe asked as she stopped by the ice cream man. "That bitch, I'm sorry sir, someone was inside." "Inside your cart?" Chloe asked in disbelief. "Yes. She scared me. She has a knife. And wanted to cut me." The man cried in grief. Chloe was alarmed. Where did she go? She went back to the house, the Turkish man shouted while pointing at the direction. Chloe slammed the accelerator quickly and to catch up with the girl. "Hey! What about my ice cream stand?" the Turkish man yelled as the cops left him alone there. Edward POV. I was waiting for Ronaldo to come in the living room with Ashley and Jessica while Sean was getting some drinks for himself. It may be because of the incident that he needed time to actually check on the drinks, causing him to take a long time to get it in the kitchen. "Jessica, you should really stop by my house sometimes." I invited the Latina girl. Ashley hugged my arms from the side and whispered seductively, "Only her? You're throwing me away?" I smiled and said casually, "I need her for an acting role." Jessica was startled, and Ashley was biting her lips in jealousy. Ashley protested, "But I'm an actress too. You see me act today." You're all right." I teased. She held back her laugh and then pretended to pout. Jessica stammered, What do you want me to do?" "Play the role of an estranged daughter searching for her dad." "I'll give you the script later." "But you're going to do improv for most of the time." "Huh?" Both of them were confused by my planning. Sean came back with a cup of coffee and asked, Why are their faces like that?" They couldn't comprehend the things I asked them to do. I replied. Sean was a bit taken aback and then whispered politely, "Maybe you should get to know them better first. That's all I'm saying." My forehead vein throbbed and I said angrily, "Not that kind of things. Just things in general." "Whatever you say, man," Sean said. "And why are you making coffee?" I asked him with a raised brow. He complained, "I had to make it myself. I can't pick anything out from the fridge." I laughed at his misery, when suddenly the doorbell rang. Weird. "It's unlocked," Jessica said as she walked toward the door. I was still bickering with Sean, when suddenly all of us remaining there heard Jessica's scream. "What the hell?" Sean exclaimed in bewilderment as we watched Jessica walk slowly to the living room with a knife on her throat. She was held hostage by a pale-skinned girl with freckles on her face, and unkempt long hair that hides most of her face. "Don't move!" the captor yelled, causing the room to be deathly silent. Ed, she's got a knife," Ashley said in fear. "I know. I can see that," I replied without changing my tone. "Edward!" The psychotic girl squealed as she saw me. But when she looked at Sean, she screamed at him. "Close your eyes." She pointed her finger at Sean. What?" Sean was confused. He held his arms up as if someone were pointing a gun at him, and sweats heavily. I said, "Close it." The psycho yelled again. Okay. Sean said hurriedly and then closed his eyes. "Are you happy now?" You should never open it while I'm here. Okay. The psycho shouted at Sean. Oh, okay. I don't want to look at you either. Sean. Shut up. Ashley whispered while hiding behind my back. Hey. I called out the girl while putting my arms up to show her I meant no harm. She turned her head quickly, but her gaze softened as she saw my face. I immediately knew her aim, and then smiled at her. Hi. Hi, Edward. She smiled while her hand that held the knife shook for a bit. Jessica cried from the threat, and looked at me in disbelief. What's your name? I asked the girl. Ed. What the fuck are you doing? Sean scolded me while keeping his eyes closed. I just wants to know the whole situation. 'Cause right now, I have no idea why is this happening. I explained in a slow and calming manner as I took a step forward. Stay right there. The psycho girl released Jessica's throat, pointed the knife at me, and then put the knife back when I stopped. All right. I'll stop. But, can you answer my question first? Who are you? And what do you want? The sudden escalation made me a little nervous. Just a little though, because it wasn't my throat that was held by a knife. Who are you? I asked her again. I'm Mandy. The psychotic girl replied with hesitation. I smiled kindly at her and then asked, all right, Mandy. That wasn't so hard, right? You're just answering some questions. So can I ask you again, Mandy, if that's okay with you? Why are you here? Mandy held her head with one hand, while keeping the knives up in the other. I want your blood, she said as she pointed her knife at me again. While the crowd gasped, I nodded in understanding and said, okay. If it's me you want, then maybe you can let Jessica go, and I will take her place? No. I don't want to hurt you. Mandy said hysterically. You don't want to hurt me? So, what do you need my blood for? I asked. So you will fall. Shut up. Everyone shut up. I need to think. Mandy shouted. I furrowed my eyebrow as I came to a realization. Mandy, that drink, the one that made the cops come, were you the one who did that? I asked her in a calm manner. Mandy looked at me in the eye, and when she gazed into it, she felt like she had fallen into a quagmire, and there wasn't any exit for her. She confessed immediately, all of this, wasn't supposed to happen. If you had drank it, instead of that bastard, then, I wouldn't need your blood. For a ritual? I added. She didn't realize it and then said, the love potion ritual. I did everything the website said. What website? What exactly did they tell you, Mandy? I asked her using a concerned tone, at the same time activating my soul voice. She was in a daze, and unconsciously released the knife on Jessica's neck. The girl ran away hurriedly and went to hide behind Sean as he was the biggest guy there. I saw the police light flashing at the curtains, so I know that help was coming. However, that still doesn't satisfy me. I wanted to know more about the whole situation. Mandy? Hey. Look at me. I called her in a flirtatious manner. Dude, are you for real? Sean finally opened his eyes and then moved a few steps back while protecting the girls. Ashley had already ran towards him when I took a step forward to Mandy, so I was free to do what I wanted. Mandy? Hey. Did these websites, they teach you rituals to make people fall in love with each other? Mandy nodded. I see. So, you're in love with me? Yes. Mandy replied with teary eyes. And you wanted to be near me so much, that you decides to believe in these rituals? Ed, do you hate me? Nah. I don't. But honestly, Mandy, you don't need these kind of rituals. I think you're pretty cute on your own. Really? Her eyes lit up and she blushed slightly. She completely forgotten the fact that most of her face was covered, so my words were unfounded. Yes. So for me, why don't you let the knife go, so that I can hold your hands? I held my hand near her face to tempt her. I will do it right now. She threw away the knife immediately and grabbed my hand. We interlocked fingers together, and Detective Dector entered the door while holding a gun. Mr. Newgate. What happened here? She asked immediately. It's a long story, Detective. I muttered tiredly. The next day came quickly. After the whole fiasco, for normal people, they would take a few days of rest to calm themselves down. But not me. I had a lot of work to do. Linda. I called the therapist as I entered her consulting room. Long time no see. It's been a while. You're a master of escaping your scheduled sessions, Edward. I believe that no one could make excuses like you do. Dr. Linda said in a joking manner. I laughed before I sat in front of her and checked my wristwatch. I have an hour before I need to go to my next music video shoot. So? I understand. And out of curiosity, when will you have another free time? She asked with subtle sarcasm. I joked, well, December 25th, but I want to celebrate Christmas on that day, so. She shook her head slightly and said, that's understandable. Christmas is a special day where you need to spend time with your family. Yes. Exactly. By the way, if you're joking about it, then I will be amused. But if that was really true, I can't help but think that you're torturing yourself with a tremendous amount of work, with an ulterior motive. So tell me, Edward, what do you want to avoid? I didn't expect that, and was defenseless for a moment. My smile disappeared, and I replied to her honestly, my thoughts. And why do you want to keep them away? 'Cause I'm not prepared to deal with them. Why? Because they involved someone that I don't want to see ever again. Alright, that's enough for today. Good session. We should totally do it again sometime, adios. I stood up to run away from the room, but Linda grabbed the edge of my shirt to stop me. Edward, wait. Alright, we don't have to talk about that. Why don't we focus on what happened last night? I believe, after experiencing that, you will have a lot on your mind right now? I calmed down for a bit and then looked at Linda with a scowl on my face. She blinked twice with a smile on her face, and before I could ask, she said, the incident is all over the news right now. Sean. Oh no. It wasn't Sean, at least that's what the article said. The witness is supposed to be one of the heroines in the music video, but they were unnamed. I sat back down while groaning inwardly. What happened last night? She asked. I can see that this incident is really bothering you. It's almost on the same level with talking about your mother. I rubbed my chin for a while, and then looked at Linda before I said, I may have started a cult. Linda was confused. I mean, you do have a lot of fans, but they can't really be categorized as cultists. Wait, they are worshipping you madly. Not that. But that incident last night, that have a lot to do with my mistake. What do you mean by your mistake? I sighed and contemplated on whether to tell Linda the truth about it, and then decided to just let it all out. A few months back, a Wikipedia entry about a lost religion popped up out of nowhere, and it gained traction in the academia community because of how accurate it was. Problem is, they didn't know who had written that entry. Yes. I remembered that. It was a hot issue talked about in the summer. You're saying that the religion has something to do with you? It wasn't a fake religion. But it was lost throughout history. What do you mean by that? Linda's eyes flashed a trace of curiosity. She couldn't help but lean forward a bit as she was interested in the story. If it was lost, then how did you know about it? Let's just say, someone special told me about it. I dismissed the question and then continued, unknowingly, because no one could confirm how the religion started. People has been clamoring about the second coming of the great sage. In case you don't know, was a major god in this old history. I rubbed my head and then cursed in anger, and several fuckers decided to besmirch the sage's good name by creating multiple scam strategies, dirty dealing, voodoo, and a lot of bad stuff. Last night, that girl who wanted my blood, she had fallen to one of those scams. She had paid over 10 grand to get the so-called ritual method, and almost went to jail because of her subsequent actions. Not only did I turn her life upside down, who knows how many more people had fallen to these scams. Linda thought for a moment and said calmly, and, because you're the one who made the old religion re-emerged, you think the blame is on you? Isn't it? I know for sure I'm going to get a lot of bad karma for this. I muttered in irritation. Last night, after Chloe talked to Mandy, I spent a lot of time with Jessica to convince her not to press charges. I also promised her a few benefits, which made her forget about the matter immediately. For her peace of mind, she still filed a restraining order against Mandy. I didn't blame her for that. She needed it. Why, do you think, that this is all your fault? Dr. Linda asked. Because none of this wouldn't happened if I had just kept. I paused before I could blow my top off, and then took a deep breath to calm myself down. Anyway, I spent a lot of time last night uprooting those websites and made all of those who tried to take advantage suffer. But, I still don't know if it's enough. I see. Linda then jotted down a few things, and then she asked, "Are you ready to talk again?" "I'm calm now," I replied with a nod. "All right. Even though I know you're going to go through a period of self-blame, I still feel like I need to say this. Edward. It wasn't your fault." I inhaled sharply and stopped her. "Don't," I whispered with a frustrated expression. "Sue, period of self-blame it is." Linda changed the topic immediately. "By the way, the article said that you appear like a hero. You didn't flinch in front of danger, and saved everyone there from the psycho." I chuckled a bit and then said, "She's not a psycho, maybe a little bit mentally unstable, and also borderline mentally ill, but she isn't a psycho." "And to your definition, what is a psycho?" Dr. Linda asked with a smile. "For me, a psycho is someone who will act nicely in front of you while hiding her crazy side, initially. Then, when you're already used to the nice persona, then she will show you what crazy really is." General POV. While Edward was busy with keeping his secret locked up deep inside, a young teenage girl walked to a red brick house in a suburban housing location. She knocked on the door, and when the owner, a balding white man with chubby face and thick beard, answered, she told him directly, "Hi. I like your house. I want to buy it from you." The owner was confused. The girl then took off her sunglasses while looking smug, but the owner still didn't recognize her. "I'm Taylor, Taylor S. I will pay you 30% more compared to the market price if you sell this house to me. And I will make it 50% if you can move out in 2 days." The owner smiled and then offered his hand for a handshake. "You got it. Kids. Pack your bags. We're moving." Taylor smiled in satisfaction as she got what she wanted. Even though the house wasn't to her taste, it had something special that made her desperately wants to buy it. "Selena will kill me for this. Well, it's not that bad to buy the house next to Edward's, right?" Taylor muttered to herself while smiling creepily. Chapter 177, Sage. Edward POV. "What do you mean you can't do the shoot today?" I rubbed my forehead in exasperation after picking up the call from Taylor. "I can't help it. I got 2 big zits popping out this morning," Taylor complained, aggrieved. "Can't they be covered by makeup? Or are they volcanic ones?" I asked with a chuckle. I don't want to answer that question." "Anyway, we're not going to shoot it today," she said decisively. I sighed and secretly felt thankful that I had decided to plan the MV shooting early. Even if the shoot was delayed today, the company would still have 3 more weeks before the music video release, so it wouldn't stress out the staff as much. "All right." I furrowed my eyebrows as I came to a realization. "What's with the groan?" she asked. I suddenly realized that I have nothing to do today, I replied honestly. "Want to come over?" She was silent for a while, and then said, "While I want to come, I will not do it today." Why not?" "I don't want you to see my zits." I laughed out loud after hearing her complain. Then, my doorbell rang. As I was talking on the phone, I called my dad. Dad. Someone at the front door. Can't you get it? I'm shaving. He shouted from the bathroom. I'm on the phone, I said with slightly loud voice. My dad then sighed and went to open up the door while I talked with Taylor. I laughed and said, you know. I suddenly thought of something. What do you think about? Taylor asked, intrigued. I can give you an employee benefit. Pervert. Taylor laughed out loud as she heard it. I smiled and then teased, I'm not talking about that kind of benefits, although I won't reject you if you want it. I'm talking about a true employee benefit. Ha? Also, still a pervert. But, ha? She was confused. I was actually talking about my beautifying massage skill. It was one of earlier skill that I had gotten from a Muram universe where everything was settled with internal energy and techniques with long names. As I was too busy with my career, this skill, and a lot of other skills, were buried because of my schedules. My dad suddenly whispered as he walked towards me, Edward, a pretty woman is here to see you. Ha? Wait. You had never called a woman pretty before. I narrowed my eyes at him suspiciously. Who is it? Taylor heard what we were saying. She asked urgently, Who? Who came to your house? Why is a pretty girl coming to your house? Are you dating someone? My dad replied to my question as he couldn't hear Taylor. She didn't say much, but she said that you will know her from her nickname, Sage. Also, she said to come to the door quickly, or she will bonk you on the head again. Gotta go. I said hurriedly to Taylor and ran to the front door in excitement, jumping over the sofa instead of going around. As I opened the door, I froze. The woman had slightly bronzed skin, deep big eyes, a petite figure, and a scowl on her beautiful face. Ana de Armas? I muttered in confusion. Well, I just look like her, Sage replied. Aren't you going to invite me in? Before Sage could finish her words, I hugged her suddenly, causing her to freeze. My benefactor! I shouted in excitement. You have 1 second to release me, she warned. I smirked and then said, no. She sighed and let me indulge in my longing for a while, hiding a slight smile on her face at the same time. As I released her, she said, You know why I'm here? My eyes suddenly dimmed. I know. I did something wrong. I need your help to fix something for me, Sage interrupted before I could finish my sentence. Ha? Both of us looked at each other in puzzlement. What are you talking about? She asked. What are you talking about? I threw the question back at her. I'm talking about the great Sage cult that has been scamming people. I need your help to destroy it. My heart beat quicker, but I kept a poker face. Why? Sage then sighed and confessed, well, after you created the Wikipedia entry, I went to check on them so that you wouldn't miss any details. You did great. I'm really proud of you. By the way, the internet is a disgusting place. I don't recommend you stay there for long, she said with a slight grimace. What websites did you encounter? I asked with a slight chuckle. I don't want to talk about that. In all of my 3,000 years of living, I have never been so disgusted with the way two girls were using one cup. I widened my eyes, but Sage continued before I could react. Anyway, some people were interested in the history, so... She squirmed a little bit and grew abashed. Her cheeks blushed, and she couldn't look me in the eye. Well, they were interested, so I added a few details, but I hid my presence. It was you. I widened my eyes in shock. I thought it was me who started that cult. It wasn't a cult. It was true. But... Yeah, I started it, Sage replied with a slightly mischievous smile. I froze for a while, and then let out a sigh of relief. So, it wasn't my fault, I muttered to myself. Sage was confused, Of course, it wasn't your fault. Anyway, I'm breaking a few rules by appearing in front of you, so we need to make it quick. I need you to wipe out all of the bad things related to my name. Can you do it? I smirked, and, what do I get for helping you? She scowled, what do you want? Oh right, have you had any sessions yet after mine? I had already submitted the request for the list, so you can see them at your next session. Oh. I haven't had them yet. I replied before I got back to the topic, nice try trying to distract me. It won't work. Let's see, what do I want from you? Sage tapped her foot nervously and then said, quick. I can't be here for long. I need to wipe out your memory of me being here as soon as I'm gone. I was startled, wait? Really? You need to do that? I don't need to. But I'm trying to get out of work. If they know I broke a rule, they will send me on a mission, and I will have to move my old bones again. You don't want me, an old lady, to work so hard, do you? My dad was walking by at this moment and heard Sage call herself an old lady. He gave her a puzzled look but didn't say anything besides. Are you guys really going to be talking at the front door? Ed, she's your friend, right? Invite her in. I finally realized how rude I had been and said, oh right. Come on in, Sage. Wait, I can't stay for long, Sage's words trailed off as I pulled her inside the house. Sitting at the dining table sipping tea, Sage calmed herself down. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, she complained. The internet should have never been invented. Sure, Granny. I played along as I sat next to her, sipping the same tea. I forced my dad to leave the house, leaving me alone with Sage so that I don't have to watch what I was saying. He did give me a concerned look, but apparently, he misunderstood my relationship with Sage. He thought that she was a niece of the grandmother I told him about before because he heard the word granny a few times. I wouldn't know about this until he came home last night, and I don't have the thought of clearing it up even after. She groaned. I smiled as I looked at her face. Suddenly, she said, Edward. I can sense you're anxious. What is going on? Can't you know it without me telling you? I joked. She then paused, I can. Do you want me to do it? I was the one who was taken aback this time. I don't know how to answer that. Are you anxious about your future? She asked knowingly. You don't have to stress yourself out. When the time comes, you will be able to sense it. Oh. I replied before I grimaced, that doesn't make me feel better. Believe me. I understand what you're feeling. I instinctively wanted to reject her sympathization, but then I realized she wasn't saying that just to make me feel better. You really do, don't you? I said. She nodded and then changed the subject. Anyway, instead of dwelling on it, just make sure that you always pay attention to your surroundings. Ah, Sage. I want to ask, why did you give me the last draw? You know, the one with the one-piece memory. I asked her with a smile on my face after throwing all of my doubts to the back of my mind. No. That's just your luck. Sure it is. I muttered sarcastically. Can we not talk about things that will give me troubles? Can you help me or not? She said anxiously. Oh. I already did it last night. I muttered casually, causing Sage to widen her eyes in disbelief. WH. So, you should change your purpose of coming here. You come to visit me, nothing more. She contemplated for a while, and then smiled widely, yeah. I just came here to visit. I'm not interfering with the mortal world's business at all. If you dare to wipe my memory, I will be sure to spread bad words about your history again. I warned her as I saw she wanted to snap her fingers. I didn't know what was going to happen if she did, but I'm not going to find out. She scowled and then said, all right. I'm leaving. Can't you stay for a while longer? It's not like we're going to meet again, right? I asked while flashing my puppy dog eyes. Surprisingly, Sage was weak to these kinds of attacks and sat back down. I smiled and then asked her, I haven't had a conversation where I don't have to mind what I'm saying for a long time. Sage nodded in understanding, and she let me pour out my resentments for a while. I would only have to wait, like 10 more years before One Piece ends. But instead, I need to add another 14 years to my waiting time. Really, Sage, I can't thank you enough for giving me the Wano ending. I have a lot of skills. What am I supposed to do with them exactly? Sometimes, the indecision makes me feel paralyzed. And don't get me started on the relationships around me. Although I like my family and friends, there's still a voice whispering in my head that says I don't deserve this. Sage listened intently to all of my complaints for a while. She gave me a couple of chicken soup for the soul, but honestly, it all sounded generic. I can't help it, okay? I'm already retired. She retorted after I looked at her with disdain. But I can say this. Take a deep breath and calm down. Sure, starting fresh can be scary, but it's not like you're doing something bad, right? Just adapt to what life throws at you, like you always do. So stop overthinking. It won't do you any good. I nodded after hearing the advice. For some reason, talking with Sage for half an hour fixed me more than 10 hours of a therapy session. I hoped that she wouldn't charge me for this. After I showed her that I had cleaned up the traces of the cult and punished the perpetrators, she was finally satisfied with my work. It was a bit disheartening after she said goodbye and left, but I didn't know why. I got a feeling that we would see each other again soon. General POV. Walking away from the neighborhood, Sage wore a satisfied expression on her face. Suddenly, a gray Porsche drove by and came to a halt beside her. From the driver's seat, a Korean man emerged, Mr. Gong Shin, Senior Afterlife Agent. He lowered his sunglasses and greeted Sage with a smile. Did I get caught? Sage asked, maintaining a poker face. Yes. It's rather pointless to disguise yourself when you used a character that isn't supposed to exist here, he said teasingly. Reaching into the passenger seat, he picked up a few files and handed them to Sage. Here. You'll find your new identity, housing, company credit card, insurance, savings account, and everything else you need, including your background in terms of familial relationships. Curious, Sage asked, what do I need them for? Well, to live here, of course, and to act as a monitor for our newbie agent. I was struggling to find a replacement for Mrs. Henderson, but you inadvertently did me a favor and broke a rule. Since you already have a rapport with her, why not take on the role? The senior agent chuckled, while Sage scowled in response. Putting his sunglasses back on, he added, good luck as an intern teacher at Palisades High. And, oh, as a bonus for your troubles, I'll compensate you for dealing with those horny teens later on. Bye-bye. The car swiftly drove away, leaving Sage to process the sudden turn of events. Damn it, she exclaimed, unable to contain her frustration. I don't want to be a teacher. She shouted, but the senior had already disappeared around a corner. Edward POV. Dad returned home after buying the groceries, but was puzzled when he saw I was alone in the house. Did she already leave? He asked in disbelief. Yes. 15 minutes ago. I replied casually. Dad looked at the groceries bag in his hand and asked, then, did I buy all of these for nothing? I wouldn't say for nothing. I'm cooking tonight. I replied with a smile before I ordered, put them all at their place. My dad didn't say anything and went to the fridge, been a while. And oh, Luke has been coming by all summer, wanting some cakes. Really? He asked you? I looked at my dad with disbelief. Not quite. I don't know how he managed to sneak into the house, and when he saw that the fridge was empty, he scolded me and told me I need to do better. The story made me burst in laughter. I went to check up on Ronaldo, my manager Randall, and also Pepper before I do anything. However, it seemed that Pepper already knew about my MV shoots getting cancelled, so he just asked me to spend some time with my family instead. After all, it was a Sunday. Ding dong asterisk. Who is it? I asked after finishing lunch with my dad. It's Luke. I opened the door, and Luke walked into the house without minding me. "I got a new game, Zombie Madness," he said in excitement. "Nice," I replied, not minding that the game was rated mature. "How did you get it?" I asked curiously. "Hey, are you asking me questions, or are we going to play?" Luke replied dodgingly. I nodded and said, "Want to bet on the game? Mom said that we shouldn't gamble." Luke replied, "But Dad said something we can if it's with your friends." "You should listen to your mom," I said with some concern about Luke's future. As we played the game for a while, of course with me kicking Luke's butt every time, his dad actually invited me to jump on the trampoline today and play trampoline basketball. I went to the Dunphys' house after changing my clothes. "Ed, think fast," Phil said as he passed the ball to me as he saw me entering the backyard. I managed to caught the ball perfectly and smiled smugly. "Luke told me you would never let him win. So today, prepare for your demise." Phil chuckled. "Oh, game on." Phil's commentary. To be honest, that scared me a little. It's not like I'm afraid of losing. But I'm afraid of my super dad image that the kids have of me collapse. So, I had to give 200% of what I got in the match today. Commentary ends. Haley and Alex were standing at the veranda when Alex shouted, "Dad, kick Ed's butt." Haley shouted, "Ed, you can do this." I smiled and wanted to look cool by dribbling the ball. When I bounced the ball for the first time, I suddenly realized I was bouncing the ball for the first time. My previous self has never played basketball before. The ball bounced on the grassy yard weakly, and bounced away while I was frozen at my spot. Alex and Haley burst into laughter after they realized what had just happened, and even Luke and Phil were being gigglish. "Shut it. I just need to adapt," I said with a blush on my face before I walked to the front yard to practice on the cemented ground. After a few minutes, I can finally control my muscles for the game correctly, and then went back to accept Phil's challenge. However, I had to play the game on the extremely bouncy trampoline, with a super energetic middle-aged man that wouldn't let me score no matter what. Damn it, my image. I cursed to myself as I saw Haley and Alex laughing at me from afar. Even Claire joined the fun, and rooted for me in sympathy a few times. Soon, I finally get used to the rules of the game. Woohoo! Slam dunk! Luke shouted as I managed to jump on the bouncy trampoline and dunked the ball. Phil's mouth was smiling, but his eyes wasn't. Nice shot, Ed. Okay, it's Luke's turn now. Ha! I just need 2 more points to win. I was confused. Cute that you think that. Time's over. Wait, we were timing it? Luke asked, as confused as I am. We are. I told you about it before we start. Now come on, Luke. Phil said, wiping his forehead sweat. I narrowed my eyes at him in suspicion, but as I saw Luke was excited for his turn, I just relented easily and went down the trampoline. Phil breathed in relief after he saw me go. Phil's commentary. Phew. I'm lucky that I'm quick-witted. Honestly, what's with that kid? He's like a beast unchained. He's like the white Michael Jordan, you know, if Michael Jordan played trampoline basketball. Anyway, I'm not letting he beats me so soon. I'm like a hyena, protecting my meat from other vultures. And the only way I'm going to let Edward eat my meat is when my wife and daughters were not around. Maybe we can do it in private. Commentary ends. Chapter 178, High School. General POV. How do I look? A cute teenage girl asked her friend as she lowered her shirt to make her cleavage more prominent. Her friend replied excitedly, "Good. Are you sure Edward Newgate is coming today?" The other girl replied with a grin. Yeah. I overheard some of his friends talking. Both of the girls squealed in amazement as they waited for their idol to enter the school ground. Not only them, but there was a crowd of students camping out on the front door, trying to catch a glimpse of Edward. As the crowd became more and more dense, the school's principal, Mr. Brown, stood in front of the crowd with a megaphone. He turned it on, causing a shrill sound to explode. The student grimaced in pain and finally turned their attention towards him. He spoke using the megaphone, "I know what you guys want." But the school bell had already rung. "So it's either all of you go to class right now, or the school's detention room will be packed for a month." The students all groaned and then slowly dispersed. Principal Brown didn't lower his megaphone and said, "Honestly, you should come to school to study, not to meet a celebrity. Leave that part to me." The student murmured in dissatisfaction. Only then did the principal realize he was still holding the megaphone. He lowered it down in embarrassment and then tried to keep a clear face. After the students had gone to class, albeit reluctantly, Edward's car finally pulled into the school entrance. "Thanks, Dad," Edward said to his father. Your first day of school, but I can't even send you to the front door," Ted complained. Edward rolled his eyes and said, "School started a week ago. I'm already too late already." Ted laughed a bit and said, "Are you sure you're going to go through this? Pepper insisted on having a security detail on you. Or else, you're going to get hounded relentlessly." Edward mulled for a while and then said, "Don't worry. I have my own security inside." Who? Ted was confused. Suddenly, the 1.97 meters, 6'4", tall Jacob, with a fierce look on his face, and a small black girl with a tomboyish look exited the school. "Hey! You guys are supposed to be in your classroom," the principal said angrily. Jacob turned meek instantly and apologized to the principal. However, Elsa glared at him without fear and said, "We're only here to protect our friend. We did nothing wrong." The principal was speechless. Edward chuckled seeing their reaction and then said, "Sorry, Principal Brown. They volunteered to come get me. To make sure I'm safe. You don't want your star student, also the sponsorship magnet for your school, to be unsafe, do you?" Ted heard Edward's devious words and was shocked inside. The spineless principal's angry face melted instantly and turned into a smile. "Nonsense. All right, Jacob, Elsa, go to your class as soon as you bring Edward to his. Okay?" He walked away immediately after saying that to make sure that he wouldn't cause any more dissatisfaction in the young star's heart. Edward chuckled a bit and then said, "Wait, Principal Brown. I don't know my schedule yet." "Ah, right." The principal stumbled to a stop and then turned back to look at Edward before leading him to his office. Ted watched everything that happened in amusement when suddenly the female security guard there knocked on his car door and warned, "You can't park here. This is a drop-off point." "I am dropping off my kid?" he said, confused. "Really? But I don't see any kids inside the car? If you don't move, I will give you a ticket. You're going to block others." Ted was extremely confused right now and turned behind him. Considering that he was the only one there dropping off his kid, as they were late, he wondered if the security guard was mentally stable enough to keep her job there. "Okay." Ted didn't argue and then drove away quickly. However, he didn't go back home right away, but instead he drove to get some coffee and breakfast. Well, second breakfast. It looks like it's going to rain," he murmured as he listened to the radio when the car was already in his neighborhood. Suddenly, his eyes widened as he saw a suspicious figure trying to peek into the inside of his house through the window. She was wearing a huge hat and sunglasses, so he couldn't identify that person. However, as soon as the girl heard the sound of his car, she ran away quickly towards the house next to him. Ted was confused. Is that a new neighbor? Why does she look so familiar? Edward POV. After getting my schedule at the principal's office and getting some recommended books, I walked to my locker. Did he give me the wrong combination? I muttered helplessly as I tried to open the locker. My locker was located on the top level, and it was actually decorated by the teachers and the students. It made me feel like Peter Parker in Spider-Man No Way Home when people knew his true identity. Elsa checked her notes and said, "Nah. You did it correctly. Babe. Try it." She asked Jacob to do it because I was holding my books at this moment. Jacob nodded and then he pried open the locker. Boom asterisk. Countless fan letters and gifts fall towards Jacob's face, shocking all of us there. Jacob soon fell down to the floor and was buried by it, while Elsa checked the inside of the locker. No wonder it was stuck. She mumbled. I nodded in agreement and stepped over Jacob like Psy did in his music video and cleaned up my locker for a bit before putting the books in. Ed. Why don't you share the locker with Jacob? I don't think this will stop soon. Elsa muttered in concern. Jacob, who was reading the letters while lying down on the floor, agreed, yeah. Wait. How long was your estimate again? A month. I just need to survive this predicament for a month. I replied as I picked up the letters. I didn't want to throw them away, so I got a bag from the janitor and stuffed all of it inside the bag. Why a month? Elsa said before she glared at Jacob, and how did you know? Jacob smirked, why of course, it's because I'm his best friend. You're my best friend. Elsa said, causing Jacob's heart to throb. I rolled my eyes at both of them and scowled, can you guys not rub your happiness in my face? Elsa and Jacob laughed. I closed my locker and said, I think I will accept that offer. Also, why a month? That's because it's a process of adaptation. Elsa was confused, so I explained, today, they will cheer, and feel like it was unreal for me to be here. Tomorrow, they will be glad I'm still here. The day after that, they will still be glad, but the level of enthusiasm isn't the same. And it will lower, and lower, and lower, until they finally adapt to me being here. By then, they will treat me like a slightly famous person, but not on the obsessive level they had when meeting a celebrity. Maybe a few will, but not all of them. After all, people need to go on with their daily life. Elsa nodded, got it. Like Jenna. At first, she's obsessed with you. But right now, she didn't even come to meet you. Elsa smirked as she was trying to tease me, but I wasn't reacting the way she wanted. You guys aren't in the same class, right? By the way, I only texted Jacob. You're a +1. Jacob nodded, yeah. She just wanted to skip the boring history class. Hey! Traitor! After separating from the stupid couple, I walked to my classroom alone. Hi teach, I greeted the male teacher casually as I entered the mathematics class. As soon as I showed my face to the students, they broke into cheer. Even the teacher couldn't control them. It took them several minutes just to calm themselves down. God damn it. Mickey. Don't take off your shirt. Jess. Wipe your drool. Behave, people. Behave. The teacher shouted relentlessly. Edward, take your seat. He calmed down and spoke to me for a second before being angry again. He didn't blame me for being late. He already understands about my situation from Principal Brown from the notes I passed on to him. Wow. I really thought it would break differently. Tara muttered as I sat next to Haley. Tara was sitting on Haley's left, and I was on her right. What do you mean? This is normal for me. I said jokingly. Tara then said, yeah. But almost all the boys here don't like you. They said that they don't like you multiple times, and don't want you here. But the moment you entered, they were the ones that cheered first. Haley nodded before teasing, you know, sometimes when men love other men so much, and they didn't know what to do with that feeling, they would just be hostile to it. Most men do it. I muttered, not me though. I know that I like Henry Cavill and Ryan Reynolds. I'm not ashamed of it. Tara was shocked, but Haley laughed, only them? Only them so far. I added with a smirk. Maybe Ryan Gosling in that list too. I'm not quite sure about that. Tara asked hesitantly, Ed, you're not bi, are you? I grimaced and scolded her, no. I'm just a normal high school boy. Really? Normal? Are you sure? Haley teased. I pinched her nose and then asked, what page are we at? You're asking Haley? Tara blurted out in disbelief. Haley glared at her before turning back to me and said, 21. Oh. That's fast. I replied. Edward. Stop talking. The teacher shouted. Sorry, Mr. Jameson. I said with a smile, causing a few giggles here and there. You're late to start school. But, based on your records, I don't think that you have any problems with this year's curriculum, right? He asked with a slight smile on his face. The students murmured, and I could hear people saying, is he smart? Surprisingly, he's a nerd, and many more. I ignored the chatter and replied to the teacher, yeah. I'm basically only here to socialize. I can graduate anytime I want. The teacher wasn't offended and was glad instead. That's good. But, hey, you still have to do the assignments and the homeworks. You got that? Yeah. I got it. I replied obediently. Ed? How can I do this part? Haley asked me for advice on how to solve the equation. That's easy. You just need to. I grabbed my pen and showed her the solution. Got it? I asked. She nodded, yeah. However, her eyes were staring at me the whole time. I chuckled a bit and took out a small candy and then snuck it into her hand. She blushed a bit, thinking I was trying to hold her hand, but was confused when she got the candy. Eat this while studying. But it's sugar. She whined. Yeah, I know. Only using this will your brains work. I teased. She rolled her eyes, but when Tara said, give it to me if you don't want it, she said hurriedly, and oh. Haley unwrapped the candy and popped it into her mouth immediately to prevent it from getting stolen. I smiled helplessly seeing that. By the way, I was actually doing an experiment with Haley. Not anything bad like sticking electrodes in her head, but from her food intake. In the series, Haley became a super genius when her grandmother died and she gorged herself on food. Alex hypothesized that her brain was finally working after she got enough nutrition, and the evidence at that time does support it. So, will Haley learn better when I give her enough food? That's my big experiment. Finally, the class was over. And the teacher told the students to move to their next class. Edward. You stay behind. Let the others go first, or you'll be swarmed to death. The teacher said as he chased out the other students, Haley and Tara included. Haley reluctantly walked away after she whispered that she would save a seat next to me in the next class. We have almost all the classes together. The only difference was that I took some additional language classes. It was almost impossible to do this, however, a star could have some special privilege, right? What's going on? I asked as I entered the history class. To my surprise, the teacher wasn't there. The students' eyes lit up, and the moment I sat on my seat, they started encircling me and asking various questions. Haley was almost buried in the sea of people, so I grabbed her and pulled her close to my seat. I smiled as I answered the questions that I could answer politely, and then asked, "Where's the teacher?" "Mrs. Lynn?" "Oh. I know that." A precocious girl raised her hand. "Yeah, you, Alicia." She squealed and whispered, "He knows my name." Then, she pretended to be cool and said, "Mrs. Lynn won the lottery, so she quit this morning. Apparently she decided to go on a trip to Europe with her family." "What?" The students around were all shocked by the news. Tara checked her source of information, an interclass group chat that included the school administrators, and said, the school had to find a substitute teacher, and luckily they found one that they could hire to be a permanent teacher also this morning. The whole thing seemed suspicious. "Ed, did you do something?" Now all eyes were on me. No, I didn't do anything. How can I make someone win the lottery? Tara smiled mischievously and then said, "Who knows what you can do with your laptop?" "I can do a lot of things, but the lotto number is really randomized," I replied with a headache. Suddenly, a student shouted while he ran into the class, "The new teacher's coming. And she's hot as hell." "What?" The boys shouted in disbelief. All of the students went to take their seats as the new teacher was coming. I was drinking some water as I watched the door. Suddenly, a very familiar person entered the classroom. "Hello, class." Sage greeted with a cold face. "PFFFF," I sputtered out my drink from the shock. "Granny?" I shouted in disbelief. "Edward, wipe your mouth. That's disgusting." Sage scowled. Haley and the rest of the students were alternating their confused gazes between the two of us. "Edward, do you know her?" Haley asked, feeling a bit threatened by the teacher's appearance. "My name is Miss Anna." "That's the only preferably name I want you to use," Sage said. I finally calmed myself down and whispered to Haley, I met her before." "Why Granny?" Tara asked. "Just a nickname," I said, dodging the topic. Unexpectedly, Sage taught pretty well for her first class. And when the class finally ended, I went to talk to her. "How? And why?" I asked. "I got punished." "Don't think too much," Sage replied casually. I smiled and then teased, "Oh, they caught you, huh?" Sage scowled and then said, "Shouldn't you go annoy anyone else?" I laughed a bit and then said, "It's a good thing you're sticking around. I wanted to treat you for a meal before, but you had already run away. So, how about tonight?" "No," Sage replied curtly. "Friday will work for me." "Damn. But it won't work for me. Maybe we should just not do it." "But I can push my schedule back," I said, cutting off Sage's sentence. She frowned and then said, "You did that on purpose." I laughed out loud as I exited the class. "I'll text you on WhatsApp." "I don't have a phone," she shouted, but I answered laughingly from afar, "No problem. I will send one to your house tonight." Roof. Lunch. Edward. Jenna greeted cheerfully as she walked towards where I was sitting. Then, she said fearfully, "The roof is off limits." "How did you get here?" "Yeah, I broke the door," I replied with a serious face. Jenna's expression froze and she said, "Are you serious?" "I'm not." I bribed the janitor to open the door, I replied with a smile. She was finally relieved and sat next to me. As we started eating and talking, Jacob and Elsa joined in, and lastly, Haley and Tara also came to the roof. We snuck some food from the cafeteria, and some of us brought our own lunch, like me and Jacob, who needed the protein. "Where's Abraham?" I asked. "Simping over a senior," Jacob replied teasingly. "Ah. Got it. Also, both of you, wait, the three of you. Why aren't you guys eating?" I said to Elsa, Haley, and Tara. "You guys aren't doing something stupid like dieting, do you?" No." Haley tried to play it off. "I had already eaten in class," Elsa said. "That's true." Jacob backed her up. Tara smiled and said, "I am dieting." "So what?" "It's lunch. It won't affect much. And you guys need the energy," I said to them, and then, it turned into a 20-minute lecture about how they could still lose weight from eating normally, and just made sure that their body was in a calorie deficit. "So, eat," I said as I fed Haley a spoonful of my food. She widened her eyes in shock before she grinned. Jenna was jealous. "Can I get feed too?" "No," I replied decisively, making the group laugh. "By the way, Ed, how did you know that new teacher?" Jacob asked with a dazed look. Elsa was mad and scolded him, "You bitch. You like the new teacher, don't you?" "What? Oh, no. I'm just curious." Jacob defended himself instantly. "Have you seen her naked before?" Jenna asked suddenly. I opened my mouth, but then I realized that I was almost tricked. I looked at Jenna, only to realize that the group was looking at me with shock in their eyes. "Why, you have?" Haley asked fearfully. "What? No. Also, stupid question. I have never seen her naked. I end this life, I proclaimed decisively. But I did multiple times in my previous ones. I added that internally. Then, I widened my eyes as I thought of something. Wait, why is she here? Duh. To teach, of course. Elsa looked at me in disdain. However, I ignored her and thought deeply about the matter. If it was a punishment, it was a simple matter of getting her into other schools. But why did they send her to be so close to me? Hey, Elsa. Did any of our school teachers disappear after we graduated? Huh? Not that I know of. Everyone is still there. She replied. Jenna looked at me in concern. Why, Ed? Is there something wrong? Yeah, equals maybe. I don't know yet. I answered while having some tumultuous thoughts. I need to go talk to Sage, I said as I suddenly stood up and walked away. Sage? All of them were confused. Right. Miss Anna, I corrected, causing them to exclaim in understanding. Chapter 179, Football Practice. Edward's POV. I approached Sage's classroom with a grim expression on my face. The usual fans who wanted to talk to me instinctively made way as I passed through them. Standing in front of the classroom door, I felt a sudden stillness around me. Out of nowhere, a Korean man's face appeared beside me. What happened will be explained in a flashback. It took me a while to calm down after the man's explanation. Then, I opened the door and entered the classroom. Sage, lost in thought as she stared out the window, was surprised to see me. Why are you here? Go have some lunch, she said, her expression unchanged. What about you? Why aren't you eating? Or did the other teachers discriminate against you? Confused, she furrowed her brows and replied, No, I haven't even met them yet. Ah, that's the problem. You should go to the teacher's lounge and introduce yourself. By the way, you can use your connection with me to smooth things over. Most of the teachers here are my fans, so they'll be enthusiastic about getting to know you. She scowled and responded, I don't need to get close to them. I'll be gone from here soon. Nah, I believe you'll be here for a while, maybe a year. Having some friends could help you during that time. As I tried to persuade Sage, a lively Latina female teacher knocked funkily on the classroom door. Knock knock. Miss Anna. Oh, Edward, you're here too, muttered Miss Julie, the Spanish teacher, with shining eyes. I nodded with a smile and said, Of course, I'm here. Someone needs to take care of my socially awkward godsister. Sage was shocked, and Miss Julie exclaimed, she's your sister. That explains how she got approved so fast. I chuckled and said, Yeah, fame comes with some benefits. Miss Julie scolded, You shouldn't think about abusing your fame, Edward. It's not a good idea. Sage barely reacted at that moment and asked, Who's your godsister? Ignoring her, I told Miss Julie, By the way, miss, could you help my sister get familiar with the school? She won't do it unless someone forces her. It's exhausting. Miss Julie nodded in understanding, while Sage became more and more baffled. I don't need your help arranging my life. Miss Anna, let me show you where the teacher's lounge is. We can have lunch together, the overly enthusiastic but kind-hearted Miss Julie exclaimed, hugging Sage's arm and pulling her away. Wait, Sage tried to protest, but it was futile. Her powers were locked as a punishment, so she only had the strength of a small woman. I smirked and shouted to Miss Julie, she didn't have any friends in the city either, so someone needs to show her around. I'll take care of it. Miss Julie shouted back from afar. I returned to the rooftop and continued having lunch with my friends, but we only had a few more minutes before the bell rang. Then, I walked with Haley and Tara to the Spanish class, which, surprisingly, was taught by Miss Julie. Well, not that surprising. School's finally over. Tara muttered as she stretched her arms in the air. Yeah, now comes the real challenge, I mumbled as I saw a crowd of people waiting for me outside the class. Haley looked a bit worried and asked, "Will you be okay?" "No problem. I'll treat this as a warm-up for football practice." "Oh yeah, that starts today," Haley said with a smile. "I'll come and watch you practice." "You should. Cam and Gloria will be there." "Huh? Why are they coming here?" Haley was confused. "Well, come over and you'll find out," I muttered with a sly smirk. Then, I suddenly shouted, "What's over there?" as I pointed to the left side of the crowd. Startled, they all turned to look, and while they were distracted, I slipped away from their sight. "Wait, where did he go?" a random girl shouted. "Is the window open? Did he jump from the second floor?" Another girl hypothesized, her face pale. The fans stormed into the classroom to look out the window and try to find where I had gone. That's when I quietly left the classroom and made my way to the football team's locker room. I changed into the team's equipment and uniform before heading to the field. I was already late, and everyone else had gathered there. The Dolphins team uniform consisted of a white shirt with blue lining and blue player numbers, paired with blue pants. As I made my way to the field, it seemed that the news about me joining the football team had been leaked, and many of my fans were sitting on the bleachers with banners in their hands. "Edward! Edward! Edward!" they cheered as they saw me enter the field. I smiled and waved at them. Many of them started swooning and soon called me the White Knight based on my current armored appearance. "Huddle up," the coach blew the whistle, and the team finally gathered. It wasn't that he didn't want to start sooner, but he was afraid that the fans would storm the field and attack him if he dared to do it without me. "All right, kids, The coach was initially excited but then started to lag. "Should we just have Edward throw the ball around while the rest of us go home?" sneered one of the linebackers. "Well, you can go home if you want. And you don't have to come back here again," I muttered, causing the group to fall into a deathly silence. Jacob grew restless. "Ed, you know I've got your back, but there are too many people here if you want to start a fight." I ignored him and asked the coach, "Can I see the players' data and their current positions?" The coach was startled at first. "I didn't make one this year," he replied with a guilty look. I stared at him with disdain, wondering if the man who wanted to retire this year had already given up on coaching the kids properly. "All right then. We're going to start with some basic tests to get the baseline of your most optimum conditions. You got 2 tries for each test, and we will rearrange the team's position based on your strength." "Who died and made you the leader?" "The current leader of the team, a high school junior that belongs to the same grade as I am, pushed my chest armor as he tried to warn me. However, I grabbed his arm and pulled him forward while simultaneously tripping him, causing him to fall face first into the ground. Luckily, the uniform was a bit stocky, so his face didn't suffer. That's one of the ways you guys can defend the line during the opponent team's attack when their strength overpowers you. And before you say anything, that wasn't cheating," I said with a devilish smile before I shouted, "We're going to do everything we can to win. That's how the team under my rule is going to be. Any objections?" "No," the team shouted instinctively. I grabbed the chart and the whistle from the coach and said, "You can just sit back and relax. Leave the subsequent test to me." All right." The coach didn't object and then left with a smile on his face. "Coach, you can't do this," the captain shouted. I shook my finger at him. "America may be a democracy, but right now, there's only going to be only one voice in this team, and that is mine. But I'm the captain. You can still keep that title. No one will take that away from you. You just won't have any powers that come with it. Got it?" I patted him on the shoulder before I blew the whistle. Gloria and Cameron came at the same time the coach left, and was confused by the situation. "Seriously? You're really leaving?" Cam asked the coach while holding Lily in his arms. However, the latter only shrugged and didn't even stop his steps. "Oh my God. Edward's right. The team is in worse condition than I thought," Cam muttered. I waved towards them after making the players get ready for their 40 yards dash test. They walked towards me, with Lily becoming more and more excited the closer she got to my position. No, Lily. Edward has to practice. So not this time. Gloria quickly pulled Lily out of Cam's hand and placated the baby. Yad! Lily shouted. I pinched her cheek before I said to Cam, "You're only coming here to watch, right?" "Right," Cam said with a little bit of hesitation. For a few days after I told him about my offer, he had fallen into a dilemma between staying at home with Lily or accepting the assistance coach job. It was hard for me to convince him to do it, mainly because Lily needed so much care right now, and also, Mitchell was making some decent money at his lawyer firm, so he didn't have to care about the small income he's going to make if he coached here. All right. By the way, can you help me record the data for a while? I need to hold the stopwatch. I asked him. Gloria knew what I was doing and agreed for Cam. Yes, he will do it. Come on, Lily. Let's go sit with Haley and Alex. And maybe if they agree, we can all go out and have a girls' day together. Gloria was extremely excited for spending some time with the girls, as she wanted to have her own daughter since even before Manny was born. Ah. Spending some time with their step-grandmother, aunt? I can't say sister, that's too much, isn't it? I changed my words a couple of times as Gloria stared murderously at me when she heard the word grandma. Why not sister? I can pass as their sister, Gloria said begrudgingly before she walked away with Lily. We started with the 40 yards dash test, and frankly, the results were disappointing. None of the kids managed to finish under 5.1 seconds. Come on, you guys. You can do it. Try harder the second time. Cam cheered them up. I think they don't want to run properly, Cam. I muttered with an evil smirk as I saw their dissatisfied looks as they stared at me. Only Jacob did the test properly, finishing at 4.7 seconds. For high school students, the average was 4.6 seconds. And any lower than that was considered monstrous. So, I will call an assistant that will help them. Then, I whistled with my fingers and called, Randall. Dinky. Come here. Dinky? Cam was confused. Then, he widened his eyes when he saw a huge, black K9 dog with a vertical scar on its right eye entering the field menacingly. Randall, my manager, was dragged on by the dog instead of him leading it. Hi. Evening, everyone. This is Dinky. She's a rescue, Randall said to the players politely. I stopped him, crouched beside Dinky, and then rubbed his retired head vigorously, causing his tail to wag. Dinky was an ex-police dog, with years of experience on the force. He had to retire early because he had a history of excessive violence, and would bite off the criminal's flesh excessively during his apprehension. No. Dinky is a good dog, Randall whispered to himself. I ignored him and said, during your second try, Dinky will run after you from behind. The crowd was startled and they started grumbling, you can't do that. That's excessive. I want my mom. Shut up. I shouted. As they calmed down, I continued, due to an injury on his left leg, Dinky couldn't run as fast as he used to. His record for the 40 yards dash was 4.8 seconds, so if you don't want him to bite your ass off, then you need to beat his record. Can I quit? Tyrone, the new freshman player who's currently holding the wide receiver's position, held his arm up and asked. You can quit after you finish today's practice, I said decisively, not giving the kids a way out. Ah! Tyrone screamed in fear as he ran for his life. As soon as he passed the 40-yard line, I shouted, Dinky heel. The dog stopped immediately and I announced, Tyrone. Surprising 4.45 seconds. You're really amazing. Tyrone was panting hard, and when he heard the record, he grinned from ear to ear. Really? I smiled kindly and said, yes. Especially since you're only 15. With some training, you can become a star player that could shock the state. Cam looked at me in confusion. Then he whispered to himself, treating them badly, then, giving them a sweet compliment that made them await. Edward, are you being a toxic boyfriend to these poor kids? I ignored Cam's accurate statement and called the captain. Tyler. You're next. Prove to me that you are worthy of the title, Captain. Tyler stepped forward, a mixture of determination and apprehension on his face. He knew this was his chance to prove himself and regain some power within the team. He took a deep breath and positioned himself at the starting line. Come on. I can do this. He whispered to himself. I looked at him smugly, causing him to curse me for taking his limelight. Ready. Set, go. I shouted, blowing the whistle to start the 40 yards dash. Tyler burst into action, sprinting with all his might. Ah! Tyler shouted with veins popping out of his throat. As Tyler raced down the field, I watched him closely, analyzing his form and speed. He was fast, no doubt, but there was room for improvement. I knew he had the potential to be a great player, but he needed a push to bring out his best. Great job! Cam clapped his hand to support Tyler as he almost finished. Just as Tyler crossed the 40-yard line, I called out, Dinky, heel. The dog obeyed instantly, halting in its tracks. Tyler, panting and exhilarated, turned to look at me, waiting for my assessment. 4.53 seconds, I announced with a nod. Not bad, Tyler. You've shown improvement, but there's still work to be done. I expect more from you as the team's captain. Tyler's face lit up with a mix of relief and pride. He had managed to meet the average time for high school students, and that was a step in the right direction. He knew I had high expectations for him, and he was determined to meet them. And all of this was happening inside his subconscious. He wasn't even aware that right now, I was training him to meet my expectations. I believed that in 1 month, I could train him to do anything I want, provided that no one breaks the brainwashing I'm currently doing on him, and also the rest of the team. After the entire team had done the test, Cam said, Edward. Your turn. All right. I muttered and went to the line. The crowd cheered explosively as they saw me, shouting their support and even taking out their phones to record the moment. I smiled charmingly as I waved at them, causing the team to look at me in disbelief. Ready? Start! Cam shouted. I sprinted towards the 40 yards line with all of my might. Then, I slowed down after I passed it, and jogged towards where Cam was standing with heavy breathing. What's my record? I asked, a bit curious. Although I had the football training memory from the gacha, I had never actually done these things by myself before. I knew that Hiruma's record and my record would differ because we had different body types, so I was a bit expectant. I don't think this counts. So you're going to take the test again? Cam said. Huh? Why? I asked, confused. Then, I grabbed the stopwatch from him and saw the record. I froze for a few seconds before I grinned widely. My record, 4.32 seconds. It was on par with the top NFL players' records, so that's why Cam couldn't believe it. I must have started the timer late and stopped it too early. Cam tried to convince himself. I don't think so. But let's do another test just to be safe. I muttered. Then, I did the test again. Cam froze in his spot for a while, and couldn't recollect himself after I finished. While he was standing there like a statue, I peeked at the stopwatch and saw my new record. 4.29 seconds. Holy sure speed. Jacob shouted in disbelief. He had to change his words midway as he knew that his mother was watching the practice at the bleacher. Cam looked at me and held my shoulders suddenly before he said, Edward. You should quit singing and focus on becoming a full-time football player. I grimaced at him and brushed his hands away. Calm down. Let's continue with the other test. Test for reflex, arm strength, core strength, and stamina. We need all of the data available before I could create a training program. Then, I said in a sad tone, unfortunately. I would not be able to focus on playing as I have too much work as it is. Maybe if I have an assistant coach that knows what he's doing, I can relax and practice properly. But as of right now, my talents need to be buried so that the others could grow. Stop trying to trick me into accepting the job. But I will accept the job. As long as you promise me that you'll keep playing. I smiled and mischievously, of course. Why would I want to stop now that I have joined the team? Cam smiled in disbelief after that. General POV. Haley walked towards Edward while recording him with his camera. She asked, "How do you feel after your first football practice today?" Edward smiled, his face was glistening with sweat. He answered, "I had fun." "Oh really? Was it fun torturing the other players?" Haley asked mischievously. Edward tried to shush her and said, "That's a secret between us." The video was then posted to Haley's Instagram account, and an official video about Edward on the field today was posted into his own account. As Edward couldn't really show his silly sides on his official account, he asked Haley to help him with that. And it benefited both of them when they posted it. After Edward changed out of his uniform, Randall picked him up and brought him to his car. "I'm going to go eat some food. Come with me?" Edward asked Haley. The latter smiled and said, "Sorry. I promised Gloria to go with her to the mall. Besides, it's too early for dinner." Edward rubbed his stomach and said, "I'm starving though." "All right. See you tonight." Tonight? Why tonight?" Tara, who was standing beside Haley, asked teasingly. Edward looked at her weirdly and said, "Haley wants to show me something." Before Tara could tease again, Haley cupped Tara's mouth and said, "I'll see you tonight. And oh, bring Alex with you. It's kinda dangerous for us if you're there alone," Edward said before he smirked and left. Haley blushed hard, and when Tara teased her, she hit her friend's arm and said, "Let's go." Chapter 180, Painful Night. General POV. After Edward uploaded a video of himself playing football on his Instagram page, the views of the video instantly exploded. However, as American football wasn't as popular in other countries as it was in the United States, the video couldn't achieve a breakthrough and become one of the more popular videos on the internet. Tom Brady, a professional NFL player with an outstanding record, accidentally came across Edward's video while scrolling on his phone. "Oh, impeccable form. James, we should get this guy for the team." "Who?" His friend peeked into his video and then scowled. "That's the singer kid who built the app." "He's a nerd." "Wait, he's not a nerd." "Ha!" James instantly changed his opinion about Edward after watching the video. He must have practiced the throws for a long time. He can throw it into tight spaces too. That's awesome, and it took a lot of practice. I had the wrong impression of him. Tom Brady was still processing the earlier information. He's a singer? Yeah, kinda the most popular kid right now. You know what, why don't we ask him if he wants to come check out our stadium? James smiled teasingly. Their team's name was the Patriots, and they were located in Boston, on the other side of the coast. So it wouldn't even make sense for them to invite Edward. Alright, I will leave a comment, Tom Brady smiled, not understanding the situation. James looked at him disdainfully but didn't extinguish Tom's false hope. While the entire country was watching Edward's videos, a heated argument was taking place inside an apartment in Pasadena. Why don't we try to build some muscles and maybe pretend we're into sports? Howard Wolowitz said in exasperation. Your plan is as feasible as saying we should use the fake balloon muscles from the SpongeBob cartoon show. What you're saying is not only comical, but it also shows that you have the IQ of a sea sponge. Sheldon replied angrily. But you have to admit, Edward proved that he can do it. You know, balance between being a jock and being a nerd. He made a lot of games and apps, all by himself, Leonard tried to convince Sheldon. Sheldon nodded, acknowledging Edward's effort, and rolled his eyes at the same time. Just pick one already. Why does he want to do both? Sheldon muttered incomprehensibly. Howard smiled before saying, So? What are we waiting for? We should hit the gym and finally make the gym membership card in Leonard's wallet useful. Of course, we need to clean off the dust first. Leonard rolled his eyes while Howard and Raj laughed at him. Rajesh then asked, "How long has it been since you started the membership?" Sheldon replied instead of Leonard, "He started in 2003, shortly after he moved into this apartment. He said that it's what Californians do, and then he never went there again after the first time." The others laughed at Leonard, but then Leonard said self-deprecatingly, "Laugh all you want. I can't go there to face Jackie, the hot receptionist who convinced me to get a membership card, and it still costs me $50 a month because I couldn't cancel it." While the group laughed harder, Leonard whined, "It's been 6 years, and it's still deducting." After calming down, the group suddenly fell into an abrupt silence. Rajesh rubbed the sofa cushion while sitting and asked hesitantly, "So, should we go there?" No one answered him, not even Howard, who started the whole topic. "Nah, let's see if he uploads something new tomorrow and see if we can do that," Howard said. "Oh, by the way, he asked me if we're going to play any D&D games." "He wants to join us," Leonard said happily. Edward's POV. 98, 99. 100, I counted as I did a shirtless one-arm push-up in the living room. Haley and Alex ate some popcorn as they watched me exercise in silence. They let out some gasps a few times as they watched my muscles tighten and my sweaty body glisten. "Sorry, I just have one more rep, and then we can start," I told them as I stood up with a slight panting. "And no, you can take your time." "No rush," Haley said with a slight stutter at the beginning. I shot her a weird look before going to do some pull-ups. The girls kept their eyes on me, and when I was finally finished, they ran to give me some towels. "Thanks," I replied as I wiped the sweat off my body and then walked towards the bathroom. "I'm going to take a shower. And while I'm in there, you guys better wipe that drool off your faces because I don't know what I'm going to do if you keep looking at me that way." "What way?" Alex asked. "The sleep with me face," I teased. I wanted to say fuck me faces, but I still needs to hide a few parts of my personality for when they were truly comfortable with me later on. Then only would I show all of my true self, making them fall in disbelief as to why they ever wanted to become friends in the first place. After that, I went to cook dinner, which included a T-bone steak and a lot of high-protein dishes in big portions. "Haley, what did you want to talk about?" I asked while cooking. "What?" Haley was blanking out. She smiled as she looked at me, completely forgetting her intention of coming here today. Alex reminded her, "Your doodle book?" "Ah," Haley exclaimed before she took out a pink-covered book with a ribbon on top. "And also, this isn't my doodle book. This is my book of ideas." Alex snorted and said, "I've seen the page where you wrote Mrs. Haley Nuga." Haley cupped Alex's mouth before she could finish her words. I chuckled a bit and said, "Alex, you can go play down in my lab if you want." "No, no. I want to hear this too," Alex said. I was really surprised when she said she has something great, and I really want to see it. She meant that she wanted to condescendingly criticize it. However, I noticed that Alex had mellowed out her sarcasm with her sister after she got a boyfriend and a lot of friends. Maybe now she didn't hide her insecurities behind her sarcastic demeanor anymore, which eased up her relationship with Haley and also her family members. I was just guessing, but I think that was close to the mark. "It's not something great. It's just a simple thought," Haley said hesitantly. "Well, don't keep edging me on and give me no release." "What is it?" I asked in excitement. Alex was baffled by my choice of words, but Haley blushed. "That's really dirty," Alex scolded. I shrugged it off and I watched Haley open up her book. 2 days ago, while I was doing yoga. "You mean, watching other people do yoga?" Alex exposed Haley instantly. "Male or female?" I asked. "Girls, I think," Alex replied. "Ooh. Saucy," I said as I poured the sauce I made into the sauce bowl. "Can I keep talking here? Or do you guys want to take over?" Haley asked sarcastically with a slight smile. "Sorry. Go on." Both Alex and I apologized. Like I was saying, when I was doya watching those girls do their yoga exercise, I noticed that their tights were worn out, and it stretched so much that it almost became transparent. I nodded and I added, which is the main selling point of those yoga workout videos. Alex and Haley both rolled their eyes together. Haley ignored me and said, yeah. And a few of them who didn't want to do it had to wear a tracksuit. Even Gloria, I saw her wearing tight pants doing yoga, but she had to wear a long shirt to cover up her butt. 'Cause if she didn't, the instructor won't be able to teach the class at all, I added. Both the sisters nodded in agreement with me. Haley then said, so I was wondering if there's a solution for this. I made a couple of designs, but I don't know how to create them. Why don't you just buy the yoga pants? I asked in confusion. Because they are the same. It becomes worn out after a few times, and couldn't be worn longer than a week. Haley replied. So, you want to create a whole new material that can increase the durability of the design? I asked. Personally, I just wanted to show off my nice ass, and black tights don't really work for it. Haley confessed while posing. Alex grunted, ugh. I'm not going to stay here much longer if what you guys are going to come out with is just going to help with the objectification of women. Some might even say that being comfortable with your own body is empowering, I said, causing Alex to hesitate. Haley then smirked, just because you don't have one, it doesn't mean that others don't. Alex gasped in offense and stormed away in dissatisfaction. After Alex had left, I turned to Haley and said, to be fair, you don't have much too. She gasped in offense, and before she could walk away, I grabbed her wrist and said, not that you don't have the capability of doing so. But since you didn't need much, it doesn't really get filled out. I know for sure you have the genes for a nice ass. Just look at your parents. Which one? Haley asked. Your dad. I replied teasingly. You. She groaned in disgust. And also, your ass wasn't the only thing you seem to have gotten from him, I said as I finished cooking my steak and set it for rest. He's got the inventing aptitude too. Last one he built was what? The real head scratcher, TM? Haley chuckled a bit and said, yes. The head scratcher. See? Like father, like daughter. She showed a touched smile before saying, give it to me straight. Is my idea good, or just a so-so? It's good, it's good, I said. If you include the effort for butt lifting in the seams of the pants, it can become a hot commodity for girls who want to show their fake, perfect ass to the world. Creating a new material or finding a way to enhance the durability of existing fabrics could be a good starting point. Also, it needs a lot of work. Researching different fabric technologies, exploring options like reinforced fibers or innovative weaving techniques. We could also look into moisture-wicking properties and breathability to ensure comfort during workouts. Haley fell into a daze and then said mousily, just forget about it. Oh, come on. It's your first big idea. This will launch the designer Haley Dunphy's name and make it exclusive to People's, but you're going to be the household name for helping people with their butt problem. She threw a carrot at me as I teased her. I gave her some homeworks to do after she got back, which she had jotted down inside the book. After I finished cooking, I invited Haley to eat together with me, but as she sat in front of me, I noticed that she was pouting and didn't want to look at me right in the face. What's wrong? Are you pouting because I said that you don't have a perfect ass? 'Cause you should know I was just joking. Ah! Haley exclaimed instantly and finally looked me in the eye with a face filled with relief. But still. Don't do that. I worked hard on this, she said, referring to her behind. As we were eating, I caught her only pretending to eat the food while staring at me. Just eat. I'll do you a favor after this. What favor? I'll make sure that you won't get fat no matter how much you eat tonight. By sweating off all the energy later? She said, her face blushed. Nah. By massaging you all over, I said in a seductive manner. Before she could react, I added, and by saying massage, it's exactly what I was going to be only doing. Massaging you. Huh? She was confused. I would understand it if you're subtly saying that we're going to do it, but I'm really confused right now. I smirked and said, oh. I learned something wonderful. A traditional massage skill for the kings and queens in Asia. It'll make you 10% prettier if you. I'd do it. She said instantly after hearing that it could make her prettier. I smiled and said, but I'm going to need to touch you all over. Are you okay with that? She rolled her eyes and then said, it's not like you haven't seen everything before. So, let's just do it. I laughed and said, calm down, let me eat first. Ah, and you need to eat a lot too. Or else you're going to faint during the massage. You can't eat or drink anything 1 hour before, right? You're not going to swim. It's fine. I shot her an angry glare, but my mouth couldn't hide my smile. By the way, where's your sister? I just realized that Alex was gone for a while. She went down to the basement and never came back up. Haley muttered before we heard an eerie sound coming from the basement. We looked at each other, hearts palpitating. Then, we shrugged our shoulders and said in denial, she's fine. We continued eating, and fed each other a couple of times before we finally went down to the basement. Wear this. I handed a white lab coat towards Haley before I opened the basement door. Do you have this in red? Or a sexier one? Sexy lab coats. You should write that down in your book of ideas. Halloween outfit companies and porn magazines would love it. I muttered sarcastically. She rolled her eyes and followed me from behind as we entered the lab. She was confused when she saw another door right after we opened up the basement door. Come in and close it. I told her. She shut the previous door when suddenly a gush of high-pressure air blew the both of us. Her hair and mine fluttered in the wind, so did our clothes. Then, I opened the glass door and walked into the lab while Haley was still processing what just happened. Question. Why did you install a professional air jet into your lab? Alex, who was gone for a while, asked while wearing a lab coat. To keep the room sterile. Duh. I replied casually with a smirk as I walked towards her. How much does this cost you? Haley asked in disbelief after seeing a lot of high-tech equipment in the lab. Well, the air jet alone costs 20 GS. This isn't all complete yet, but I have spent around $1 million to buy all of this stuff. The girls froze as my casual revelation, and suddenly felt that they shouldn't touch anything. I asked Alex, who was standing by the microscope, what are you doing? Alex stuttered a bit and replied, I read some of your data, and your hypothesis about possible microplastic invasion inside the human body. I was wondering if that was true, so I checked out the beach sand samples you have. What's microplastic? Haley asked. Something that makes up Kim Kardashian's face? I replied, causing her to scoff in disbelief. Alex was excited, it's really cool. He hypothesized that our action of throwing waste products into the ocean will someday cause irreparable damage to the ecosystem. She then realized something and her enthusiasm dampened, well, more irreparable damage. Something that we, as a human, would face. Not the fish that are currently facing them right now. Ow, those poor fishies. Haley exclaimed. Alex didn't reply to her sister and asked me, why are you doing research on this? Just because. I replied, face suddenly flushed with embarrassment. Haley saw it and was excited, why? Why are you not telling us the reason? I don't know. I just don't want to. I replied shyly. Alex also smiled and then egged me together with her sister. We promise that we won't ever tell a fourth party about this. I don't believe in promises. I said decisively. What? What do you want then? Alex asked. Let's make a deal. I told you my plans, and you. You are to kiss Phineas in front of your mom in a week. Never. I don't want to know your plans. Alex spoke in horror. However, Haley said, deal. I'll make sure that she will do it. Haley. Alex groaned in frustration. I chuckled and then patted Alex's head. I was just kidding. It's fine if you guys want to know. I'm just thinking about cleaning it all up. Huh, X2. You mean, you're not satisfied with just cleaning up your home, now you want to clean up the ocean? Alex said sarcastically, but with a hint of awe. Kinda. Haley then added, and you're going to use your own money to do this? No, I replied decisively. My plan is to find the evidence for my theory, use fear-mongering such as microplastics found in a human fetus, arrange a fundraiser, get all of the big tech to donate, use their money, and then clean up the ocean. Alex took out a design for the ocean cleanup ship stuck on the wall and said, "This is the thing that will do the job?" Yes. I can't wait for Boyan Slat to do it. He's only 14 right now. Who's Boyan Slat? Haley asked, confused. Not important. I replied. Anyway, this is just one of my side projects. You know, something to do if I have the time to do it. You mean, other than the time you use to slowly kill your own body with continuous working? Alex said sarcastically. Yes. Anyway, Alex, you should go now. I'm going to do something with your sister, and the sound that's coming out is going to be rated mature, you know, something a girl your age shouldn't hear. Alex and Haley both looked at me in disbelief, but the difference was that Alex looked at me with disgust, while Haley looked at me while laughing. Alex didn't want to get home, and insisted that she stay to watch over us. I was a bit irritated at first, but then I realized that it was a good thing that she was there. Her presence was the only thing that was keeping my sanity together during the massage, not that I had intentionally tried to get Haley turned on, but it was a major side effect of the massage. That, and intense pain. I feel like my whole body is going to cramp. Haley moaned after she walked out of the door while Alex was helping her to stand still. Alex then said, I'm never sitting through that again. If you guys are doing this for the second time, please don't make me stay, please. That wraps up this part of What If Karmic Gacha system in modern family world. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.